Hello everyone. So today we're going to continue where we left off, right? So shall we begin? Actual lines. So here it's defined as lines that are physically present. Later I'm going to provide an example so you could identify the different types of lines, all right? So we have the picture entitled Las Meninas on the next slide, and I want you to observe the actual lines that exist on that painting. So the edge of the wooden stretcher bar at the left of Las Meninas is an actual line, as are the picture frames in the background and the linear decorative elements on some of the figures' dresses. So while you take a look at a picture, I want you to identify the actual lines that you can find in the painting. All right, so this is it. It's called Las Meninas by Diego Velázquez. All right, so we have the canvas here. It's considered an actual line because it's there. It's physically present and you can see it on the painting. We also have the frames at the back and the columns on the side and the ceiling, of course. All right, so we can see the different um, actual lines. We have the horizontal lines, we have the diagonal lines, we have the vertical lines. Okay. We also have implied lines. These are created by visually connecting two or more areas together. The space between the Infanta Margarita, or the blonde central figure in the composition, this is her, and the meninas, or maids of honor, to the left and right of her are implied lines. So let's see. All right, so as you can see there, those arrows indicate the implied lines. All right, so here we have diagonal lines, we have horizontal lines. This is actually considered implied and at the same time actual line because you can see the line that is physically present on the painting. But here, this is called an implied line. And so these lines, okay? This is an example of an actual line because it's physically present again. However, lines like these are considered implied lines. All right? Both set up a diagonal relationship that implies movement. By visually connecting the space between the heads of all the figures in the painting, we have a sense of jagged motion that keeps the lower part of the composition in motion, balanced against the darker, more static upper areas of the painting. And implied lines can also be created when two areas of different colors or tones come together. Implied lines are found in three-dimensional artworks too. Okay, so this is an example of an actual line, or sometimes known as defined lines. And here we have the implied lines that we often see in 3D animations or in 3D artworks. Okay, so here we also have the straight or classic lines. They provide structure to a composition. They can be oriented to the horizontal, vertical, or diagonal axis of a surface. Straight lines are by nature visually stable while still giving direction to a composition, just like this artwork here called Cornish slate line. Okay. And we also have expressive lines. These are curved, adding an organic, more dynamic character to a work of art. These are lines that show feeling, emotion, or movements. Expressive lines are often rounded and follow undetermined paths. So this is a perfect example of expressive lines. The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. Okay, so as you can see there, the expressive lines are very obvious. We have the moon here and we have the twinkling stars. And if you stare at it for too long, it would appear like they're actually moving. Okay. Next, we have the shape. Okay, so shape builds on line and color as it has to be made of one or both of these. Shape is a property of a two-dimensional form, usually defined by a line around it or by a change in color. There are two main types of shapes, the geometric, the one we know of, and the organic. Okay, so for organic shapes, these are irregular, imperfect. They are natural and slightly different from one another. They're often curved and flowing and can seem unpredictable. Using organic shapes can make a piece of art or design more natural and real, just like this one. In this still life, Samuel John Piplow has painted the apples and flowers as irregular and organic. Okay, just as in real life, these are imperfect objects. Each is unique and there are subtle differences in their natural shapes and sizes. So, for example, if an apple there, you couldn't really say that it's round or circle, right? Because its shape is irregular. So it's considered organic. The shape is considered organic. Okay. We also have the geometric shape, the one that we were taught of at school. Okay. Piet Mondrian is an excellent example of an artist who used geometric shapes almost exclusively. In his composition with yellow, blue, and red, Mondrian used straight vertical and horizontal black lines to divide his canvas into rectangles of primary colors. Okay, so it's very obvious that the shapes there are um, squares and rectangles. Okay. Next, we have the form. Form is actual three-dimensional shape, though it is often used to describe the illusion of three-dimensionality as well. Like shape, form can be geometric or organic. A small korwar, or a representation of an ancestor from Irian Jaya, New Guinea, mixes these form types well. So this is it, the small korwar. While the figure is predominantly geometric, with the head shaped like a cube and the nose and arrow pointing downward, the curving organic lines around the eyes soften this effect a bit. Okay, next to form we have the space. Space is used to refer both to depth, real or represented, and also to the general surface area within a work of art. Some periods of art history show a great deal of interest in creating convincing illusions of three-dimensional space in two-dimensional media. Okay, so we have an example here. Look at how Raphael creates an illusion of three-dimensional form in La Donna Velata. So as you can see there, the space there is very obvious. Through careful variations in value, particularly in shading, the use of darker colors to create the illusion of a shadow. So for example, if you can take a look at her right hand, you can see the shadows there, right? So you would really think that there's a space between her veil and her dress. Okay? Raphael convinces us that the woman in the painting is really there in three dimensions. So it doesn't look like a two-dimensional picture, but instead it really looks like it's a 3D and 3D artwork or 3D art, right? Like what we have nowadays. Okay? This is a zoomed version of his right hand. Okay? Light seems to strike her from her left, casting her right side in shadow. The folds of her voluminous sleeves are a particularly splendid example of an illusion of space. Even examining a small detail of it, it is hard to believe that there is no depth at all, just thin layers of paint on flat canvas. Okay, so last but not the least, we have the color. I'm pretty sure that you're all familiar with the initials of this one. They represent the colors of our rainbow. Artists can use colors for many reasons other than to simply duplicate reality, including setting moods and highlighting importance. The colors of the world can be divided in different ways. When we use the term color casually, what we usually mean is hue. Hues appear on the visible spectrum. On the spectrum from the previous slide, we see the pure hues. These can be divided into primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, as on this color wheel. So this is the color wheel that includes the primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. So can you identify the colors on the primary, secondary, and tertiary spectrum? Okay. So the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue, and all the rest of the colors can be made from these. So if you can see it here, we have the yellow, red, and blue. These are considered primary. While the secondary, we have this one, and this one. Okay. So secondary colors are made by mixing two primary colors. Red and yellow make orange, and so on. While tertiary colors are made by mixing a primary color with a secondary color. Okay, so tertiary color is a bit complicated because it's a mixture of primary and secondary colors. Okay. We also have complementary and analogous colors. The colors opposite one another, like red and green or blue and orange, are complementary colors, which tend to stand out boldly next to one another. So if two complementary colors are put side by side, you can really identify or you can really determine the difference between the two colors. These are therefore often used for university colors and sport team logos, just like the color of our logo at SPC. We have the reddish maroon and gold. Okay. Colors next to one another, like red and orange or blue and green, are analogous colors, and these tend to blend together more smoothly because they kind of look alike. Okay? We also have warm and cool colors. Using cool or warm colors in an image can create moods. Pierre-Auguste Renoir used warm colors for his mother and child painting, creating a warm, cheerful, inviting scene. The oranges, pinks, and yellows dominate the image. So we have this one. On the left side, we have the mother and child painted by Pierre Renoir. So here, it consists of warm colors. Okay, the colors on the left of this wheel are called cool colors, and to those to the right are warm colors. So if we go back to the wheel, if you take a look at the colors on the left, we could really say that these are cool colors, while on the right we have the warm colors. Okay. If you have observed too, most fast food chains use warm colors on their restaurants. Okay. And next we have Diego Siqueiros or Diego Alfaro Siqueiros. He presents a similar subject in his Peasant Mother, but through the use of cool colors. Instead, creates a sad, cold scene dominated by figures of blues and greens. Neither of these artists was worried about portraying the world as it really looked. Instead, they used color to inspire feelings in the viewer. So both are both paintings consist of a mother and a child, but the use of their colors portray different feelings, right? So, for example, if you use warm colors on a painting that has a mother and child on it, you would interpret it as happy, cheerful. Okay, what else? But if you use cool colors like blue and green, or something similar, then you would get a melancholic or sad feeling out of that image. Okay? So that's it for today, and I hope that you have learned a lot from the elements of design.